Josh. Welcome back. 56 and under. Back to the chat room. First one here. Guess it's live. I opened my Twitch, but I'm getting a Honda commercial right now. Oh, there I am. Now I can quit out of that. We'll get started in just a moment, everyone. Welcome back to my lunch break. Just got done with a meeting. Thought I'd sneak in the 56 and under for today. Behind me we have the Melonheads Thunderbirds Game 1 from last week. Sam Eichenlaub on the mound again for the Melonheads. And we'll get started soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's only Josh right now. Maybe more, who knows? But if you're joining us live here on Twitch on a random Wednesday, again, let's get to the opening credit. Yes, indeed, he does live, Jason. Happy Wednesday, Hopper fans, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the next episode of 56 and Under, where our risers always rise before they eventually drop. My name is Sam Skibbe, your host of MO WIFF's Wednesday show and the weekly content schedule. Don't forget to subscribe to the MO WIFF Twitch channel and hit that bell and the subscribe button. Anytime we go live, you'll be notified here on Twitch. It has been a couple weeks since my last episode. I understand that. And while excuses are kind of like hiney holes, everyone has them and they all stink, I'm still going to give you all of my excuses here today. Tornado Alley came through St. Louis. I lost power for the 7th time this spring and summer. And people are like, well, Sam, why don't you just get a generator? And, well, to that I say, I'd rather spend my money on vacations, and I'll just take my food over to my mother-in-law's freezer every once in a while, who lives close in the neighborhood. So I'll just deal with that. Also, school just let out. My wife is a teacher, and obviously all my kids go to school, so school just let out, and the craziness that is summer has begun. And SWBL Season 23 happened over Memorial Day weekend. And then rainouts for MO WIFF have pushed me back for a couple weeks. We have been out of commission. So I'm going to jump right into talking about the highlight on everyone's mind from last week. And that's how it's going to get us started here on this return episode to 56 and Under, which is obviously me being named the pitcher of the week. So I want to thank all the voters. Wish I had a trophy or something I could hold. But I want to thank all the voters for giving me the nod. You know, an old man who doesn't have much more left in him, and with Brody basically having the exact same stat line, just a few more strikeouts, and, you know, Gus and Cam and Spencer Foss also pitching that week. I never would have crossed my mind that I would have won with all these young flamethrowers that, you know, as Tom says, the crafty veteran can still come away with that 55 pitch on a hit, shutout, anything. So who knows? Humble brag. Now give me those wings, everybody. You know, give me those Buffalo Wild Wings. That's right. Now, tomorrow we have some great matchups coming up. Division foes, the Archers and the Mojo, will face off in a series that brings last year's title opponents together again. Archers got the best of the Mojo on opening night, and it's going to be a fun series with the Archers. And as you probably have heard from the... I'm getting an ad break again. Incoming ad break. Hopefully that doesn't, ad break me. But as you probably heard on the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast, anything can happen with the division standings. And if the Archers get a sweep, they pretty much, against the Mojo, they pretty much could secure that number 1 seed heading down the stretch for the division. And if the Mojo can at least, make it interesting with a split or a possible sweep, then that division comes even tighter. So it's going to be exciting to see that series play out. And then we have the Purge and the Kings. Purge haven't played in over a month, and the Kings are looking back to get to 500 or better to stay in their division race. Question becomes, will we see the new toy of the Kings, Jordan Smith, in attendance? Only time will tell. We have our 3 segments. You're all used to them. We are going to keep the same segments this week, so top 5 headshot and over-under predictions. So let's get to it. Today we're going to start with the top 5 list, and this week I'm going to take a look back at SWBL Season 23 and talk about teams that had MO WIFF connections and how they fared in Season 23. My honorable mention I'm going to start with. I have, 2 teams. Well, I'll start over. There are 9 teams in the SWBL, and 7 of them had MO WIFF connections, MO WIFF players. It would have been 8, but Jordan Smith was overseas in Europe, and he would have been on the Marlins. So the only team that did not have a MO WIFF connection was the SWBL Athletics. So, with that being said, without Jordan, and then there are 7 teams remaining that are eligible for the list. So I just combined the 2 in the honorable mention. I know that kind of takes away from the 5 and 6 of 56 and under, but hey, here we are. I'll have our honorable mention is the Orioles, my team. Brett won a Yellow Slugger Award in the SWBL, and it was a breakout season for him that kind of took him back to his roots. He is a 5-time MVP in the league, and he hasn't really got to his hitting prowess as much as he did this past year. So it's nice to see him back to that MVP caliber of a hitter. And then myself and Jackson on the Orioles, we broke records, single-season records in the SWBL. There were 5 total SWBL records broken this year in Season 23. I broke the walks received record, and then Jackson broke the saves record, actually getting 3 saves in 10 games on the year. And then the other honorable mention I want to give to is Gus, who's on the Yankees. Only MO WIFF connection on the Yankees, but wanted to mention that I thought it was interesting, he won Cy Wiffle, but then never pitched in the playoffs. So Scott, his teammate, pitched through the playoffs. So I guess the Yankees were maybe scared he would give up a late season home run. Wait, sorry, too soon? Too soon, Gus? Oh, well, you did it. So we'll get to that in a little bit too. All right. We'll head to our number 5 for our top 5 here. Our number 5 team is going to be the Astros. The Astros were all about, what I have to say about them is they were all about the fielding. Cole Layton getting his 2nd Platinum Hands Award and making some incredible plays for the Astros throughout the season. And then I also want to give a big shout out to Caleb Schweigert, who in his first game in right field made 3 over-the-fence catches to rob home runs. So some incredible fielding displayed all season long. Everybody that was at SWBL will tell you it was probably the best fielding year we've ever had. And Cole Layton coming away with the Platinum Hands Award, despite all of our top guys having errors. Cole's error was on a throw, so it wasn't on like a fielding play or anything like that. His error ended up costing a run, but at the same time, he was going for that throw. He was going for that play. And it's hard to pick somebody, when they're running, obviously. But Cole did break the putouts record. That was something we did not announce or find out till after the season, so congratulations to Cole for the single-season putouts record for the Astros. Expos come in at number 4, and the Expos connection to MO WIFF is Sam Eichenlaub, who is behind me in this matchup here for the Melonheads Thunderbirds. He is starting in this game behind me. But Sam Eichenlaub broke the doubles record for the SWBL single season, so congrats to Sam Eichenlaub for breaking the doubles record and having a great season at the plate for the Expos that did finish in last place. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sam Eichenlaub in the future. Does he return to the Expos, or does he maybe branch out and find a new team? Number 3 is going to be the Twins. Yes, the SWBL Season 23 champions. The Twins connection. Spencer Bogad was the year of Spencer again, winning his 5th MVP award, tying Brett for the most MVPs in our league's history. He also broke the RBI record. So the RBI record comes in, and we also have never had anybody hit 50 RBIs. So he's the first person to hit 50 RBIs in a season. And then Jason Worstenholm, who said number 3, it's just who made impacts, from the Mo WIFF players. It's not the best teams or anything. Obviously, we know the Twins are the best team, Jason, from this year. Calm down. So, but we do want to give a shout out to Jason Worstenholm. Had a huge playoff performance in both of their playoff games for the Twins and received his first championship. So Jason was the new free agent toy for the SWBL Twins and came away with a big... I'm gonna rewind real quick. I think this is one of my is this one of my headshots of the week? I gotta just check to make sure. That way everybody can see it, then we'll talk about it. Yeah. Brody got hit in the penis. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so moving on, the number 2 team is going to be the SWBL Rockies. Loved the Rockies season this year. They made a playoff run that they haven't made the playoffs in a couple years. So SWBL Rockies, Tony Cochran was quoted saying that in one of those games that he was playing on the weekend, it was the most fun he has ever played in a wiffle ball event. So it was exciting to hear someone like Tony Cochran come out. And right after the season, Tony Cochran, thanked me and was so excited for the future of being in the SWBL too. So Tony Cochran, love having you in the league, and I'm glad that you had a lot of fun this season. It was a really fun season overall for everybody. And then Quentin Meyer, their rookie, was a fantastic rookie for the Rockies and helped lead that franchise back to the playoffs after some years of being away. Adam North was kind of the start to the Rockies team, and then after that, Q kind of took over that lefty role on that side. So congratulations to Q on a very successful first season for the Rockies in his SWBL career. And we all know how it kind of ended up. The Rockies had the largest lead in playoffs against any team. It was a 9-run lead heading into the last inning. The earliest one, or the one previous to that, was an 8-run lead that my team had against the Yankees. So it's fun that 2 brand new teams had this large deficit. The Twins come back and win that one. And it was almost like seeing, once the Twins beat the Rockies in that playoff game, it was like there was no turning back. They were going to win the championship. And number 1 is the SWBL White Sox. 3 rookies, all with Mo WIFF implications, who had a huge impact on the SWBL White Sox. Justin Hall and Rookie of the Year Josh Wheeler both became full-time hitters for the franchise throughout the entire weekend, quickly earning their spot. I don't think Justin was even hitting in the first game. Brody was hitting in the first game, and then Justin took that role from Brody. But in my opinion, even though Josh was the Rookie of the Year, Brody might be the most important person from that team this year. He became their ace and was tied for the league in lead strikeouts, the league lead in strikeouts, tying Jimmy Nelson. Jimmy Nelson has led the league in strikeouts for 7 seasons now. So the fact that Brody Livingston was the first person as a rookie, huge to do, make an impact like that, to come in and tie the league leader. So I faced him that weekend, and it was a difficult task. I think he was only run out of a game once or twice, which is sometimes tough to do because it's medium pitch. And at the beginning of Brody's pitching, at the beginning of the season, it was almost like you have to get used to it. So it was, you have to get used to, or just know that you are going to get scored on. Home runs are going to be hit against you. It is just a completely different game, and what I lovingly say, that arcade style of wiffle ball. So that is our top 5 for this segment. Thank you to all of the Mo WIFF crossovers that played in the SWBL this year. I'm excited for season 24, our Jack Bauer era, and it's exciting that we can continue this partnership with SWBL, Mo WIFF, and NWA, even some connections with NWA as well. So all 3 leagues sharing players throughout their seasons and getting some good wiffle ball in 3 very different styles. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the second segment. Everyone's favorite segment. It is Headshot. So, pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew. All right, yes, indeed. Headshot it is here, ladies and gentlemen. Excited to see our headshots this year is back. And headshots, honestly, are becoming a little more difficult for me because everybody's getting so great throughout this season. It's few and far between that you're finding things. The beginning thoughts of what Headshot was going to be was me trying to find players that I thought were going to make an impact and that they didn't quite live up to the expectation. If you remember, the first ever Headshot person I gave it to was myself, because I pitched against the Archers in that first game of the season and went 0 for 3 or 0 for 4, with a walk against James Klein, and then pitching gave up the run that ultimately ended up to a loss. Coming off of an MVP year and a second inside Wiffle, expected myself to do better, so yes, and wanted to give myself the first Headshot of the year. But we kind of took a break from that and turned into what are the funniest things that have happened throughout each week, and how can we make fun of people the most? Is that a lot of fun to do? Absolutely. And you saw it earlier. I mean, Brody Livingston getting hit in the private areas, striking out. He even brought it up to me that same week and said, so I'm probably going to be on Headshot because I got hit during a strikeout. And I said, well, that's a good one to start for sure. And start we shall. But it's not the only one. Later on, if it shows up, he did have 2 strikeouts, but the second one was in the second game against Jason Worstenholm. Jason Worstenholm threw a pitch over the backstop that hit almost the top of the Miracle Field backstop, and Brody was just already committed and swung right through it for another strikeout. And you know what that just means, everyone? It's just great to see fantastic players also know that they are human. Like all of us out there, we all have our moments where we show how human we are, but it's nice to show that a superhero and a Superman player like Brody Livingston, one of the best players in the country, also has those humanized moments. So thank you for providing those for us and being our first Headshot, Brody. All right, our second one goes to my brother, Gus Skibbe. Yes, indeed, folks. Another late inning pitching blunder from Gus Skibbe, throwing to, obviously giving up 2 home runs in that final inning is definitely a 56, not a 56 and under. It is a Headshot blunder in itself. But Gus having a 2-0 lead, he gave himself the 2-0 lead, hitting a 2-run home run off of Cam Smith. It was a chance to make Cam go 0-2 in a series for the first time in his career and kind of just empty the tank, but Gus just didn't have enough to get through that last inning. We'll talk, that comeback from the Bombers was amazing to watch, even from the fielding position. Was it sad? Sure. We'd love to get those 2 wins, but it was amazing to watch, and you got to give kudos to where kudos are deserved. Congratulations, Jake Welnick, for hitting that 3-run home run. It just shows for pitchers how much walks and hits can kill you, especially back-to-back in a row. So, Gus Skibbe getting our Headshot this week as well for giving up the late inning heroics. If you remember the James Chaney scenario, obviously we were up on the Archers 1-0. James Chaney coming through for his team, leading them to the finals. It has happened time and time again to not just Gus, but the Mojo in general, with those late inning blunders. And we've said it before, the SWBL Cardinals against the KWL Kagers in that championship, the hardest outs to get are the final 3 outs in a game, even when you have a lead like that. So Gus saw it again. My next one is going to go to Cam Smith. As Tom Wilkerson said, it was possibly the worst start of Cam Smith's career, and I think Cam will even tell you the same thing. Almost 2 losses before his team saved him. I know Cam wants to get back to it in his next outings and wants to right the ship for his side Wiffle chances to come back and for his team to continue their winning ways. They're on a winning streak right now. They snuck one in, so you got to believe momentum is high, and Cam wants to kind of rebuild for the rest of the season. Speaking of rebuild, my last Headshot goes to the Melonheads. I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, but the rebuild begins again for Jason Worstenholm and the Melonheads. So all their players are traded. Sam Eichenlaub might be traded. Who knows what comes down the line for this team in the future. But it's going to be an exciting road to see if the Melonheads can build to that future. But for this season, it looks like it's over. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our Headshots of the week. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew. And finally, our last segment for this 56 and under is our predictions for over and under. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit differently today for this over and under. We are going to go through each team in alphabetical order, and I'm going to go through their schedules remaining, and then I'm going to give a case as to why they will hit the over or the under of 5.5 wins the rest of the season. So in the past, it's always been matchup by matchup. What's going to happen? 5.5 is the line. 5.5 is still going to stay the line, but all of the teams are going to be 5.5 wins the rest of the season. So I'm going to go through each team in alphabetical order, kind of give you a case as to why they might hit the over or the under. First one we start with is the Archers. They have 8 games left, and they are all divisional matchups. So nice scheduling there, but obviously with the rainouts too, things just happen automatically like that. But all three series that they will play are going to be against their division teams. They have 2 against the Mojo, 3 against the Kings, and 3 against the Mambas. They want to have the tiebreaker with their division. All they need is 1 more win against the Mojos, and 2 against the Kings and 2 against the Mambas. That's all they need. So they're going to go for it these last 8 games. They're going to go for it, and I believe they should hit the over just based on how they're playing, how they're pitching, how they're hitting. You got to believe that they're going to want to go for these division wins. 8 games, getting 6 wins would put them in the over, and I think they're going to do it because I think that they want to have the tiebreaker for getting that first round bye. They don't want to put themselves in a position where they are going to tie with somebody in their division and lose one of those tiebreakers. So just beating the Mojo 1 more time and then beating the Kings twice and Mambas twice, that's 5 wins right there. You got to believe they might find 1 more win within that. So I'm going to hit the over, a risky over still, because it's always going to be hard to win 6 out of 8 games in this league, but I'm going to hit the over for the Archers on that one. Let me know what you think about each of these in the chat too. You think it's going to be over or under for the Archers? As I'm talking about each team and I kind of explain my thoughts, tell me in the chat what you think as well. All right, for the Bombers, next up for alphabetical order, they only have 6 games left. They're the team that has played the most games. They've played 11. All 6 of those are also divisional. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to take the under only because that means they would have to sweep to go to get the over at 5.5. So that's kind of like the unfortunate part for the Bombers because they only have 6 games left. So they would have to sweep out. Can the Bombers do it? Sure, if their bats get hot, they could sweep out, but it's a tough task. They have 3 games against the Purge, and they also have a Thunderbirds game as well. They could go back-to-back against the Melonheads. I believe that's their next one. So if they sweep the Melonheads, they could do it. But I think they're going to fall just short of the 5.5 line, obviously with only 6 games left. So I could see them getting 4 wins, 5 wins to finish off their season. But I just think 6 is going to be a tall task with 3 against the Purge and 1 against the Thunderbirds. So next team is going to be the Kings. The Kings have 10 games remaining. I believe that is the most out of any team that's left on this list for the remaining of their schedule. Despite the amount of games left, I still think the 5.5 is going to be tough to get the over, but I think that this team, especially with Jordan, hopefully finding his mojo back on the Kings and kind of becoming that MVP guy for them, and Josh will continue to keep pace, I think that this is not out of the realm. If Justin Hall can get some wins down the stretch for this team, they're going to hit the over. I think the key to this is Justin Hall. I think Justin is going to be that X factor for the Kings that is going to lead them to the over in this one. So if they're going to get over 5.5 wins, I think it's going to be Justin that carries them there. I feel like Josh has been a bad luck starter, unfortunately. He's pitched so well, but hasn't had the run support as many people have been talking about in the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast and more. So I think if he gets a couple with more run support, Justin gets some wins against some number 2s, and Jordan Smith, I forgot who their new toy was for a second, and if Jordan Smith can get back to MVP ways, then I think this team will find that over. I'm going to say it's going to be a close line, though. I would say push if I could. If the sweep, I will say that they have 3 Archers games left, 2 Thunderbirds, 2 Purge, and a Mojo game, along with their 2 games versus the Melonheads. I feel like if they take both games from the Melonheads, then I feel like that they will hit the over. If they split, if they lose any to the Melonheads, I feel like it's going to hit the under. So, all right. I fell asleep during the Kings. So I just talked about the Melonheads, though, so maybe you perked up when you heard about Melonheads. Yeah, there he is. There's Jason. All right. So, and it's nice to see Justin Hall saying, I got you, Kings. Put him on the back, Justin. We got you for sure. Next up is the Mambas. Mambas have not played in a month. Their next game is in late June. They will have not played for a month, over a month. And they have 8 games left. All of their games, and I talked about this if you heard the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast, all of their games against the Archers, Mojo, and Thunderbirds. Maybe the toughest schedule left remaining. So Mambas and Mojo, I think, have the toughest schedules left. The Mambas, Archers, Mojo, Thunderbirds left. It could be what I think might be the toughest. And for the Mambas to get enough wins to make the playoffs, I think they only need probably 4 or 5 more wins, honestly, to make the playoffs. So, with that being said, I think they get 5 out of 8. I think they get 5 wins out of 8. Their hitting's on another level right now, but they're about to go through that gauntlet. If their hitting holds up, they could continue hit the over, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to predict that they're going to just go for those 4 to 5 wins, and they're going to rest their guys and make sure that they are ready for playoffs. They're going to try to stay hot at the plate, but I think resting their arms is an important spot too. Once they get those 4 to 5 wins, I think you're going to see the Mambas start to kind of take a back seat maybe those last couple games. Next up, we have the Melonheads. They have 8 games left, and they will hit the under. Next up, we have the Mojo. Such an unknown with this Mojo team. It honestly depends on who shows up. That's the MO to the Mojo so far this year. They have 9 games remaining, which includes the Purge game, where they are 1 inning away from closing out a lead in a rainout game. They have 2 Archers, 2 Thunderbirds, 3 Mambas game, and then the Kings game, plus the Purge game that we talked about as well. It'll be a tough task to get to the 5.5. But just like the Mambas, I think the Mojo might only need 4 or 5 more wins to make playoffs. So I'm actually going to go under with the Mojo, but look for them to do what needs to be done and for us to stay hot as we head into the playoffs to defend the title. And if we do make the playoffs and we do get hot at the end, then I feel like all the other teams are going to, not want to play us in the playoffs. So I think we may hit the under when it comes to 5.5, but I think all we need is maybe 4 or 5 more wins, try to pick our spots to get those wins and get into the playoffs. So, and the next one is the Purge. 9 games remaining, including that aforementioned rainout game with the Mojo. The remaining 8 games after that, full games after that, are against the 3 teams at the bottom of the standings. So they have the Bombers, Kings, and the Melonheads that they face, not including that Mojo rainout game. And the Mojo are actually the next on the bottom of the power rankings too. So the Purge are actually facing everybody in the bottom half of the power rankings for the rest of their 9 games the rest of the way. I expect their pitching to get them the over, knowing all of that, and possibly push the Thunderbirds to the edge for the division lead. I think it was last year that they went on a 7-game, was it winning or losing streak? Somebody in the chat can tell me. I'm having a mind blank here for the Purge, whether it was a winning or a losing streak at the end of the season. But I could see them putting together a 7-game winning streak here all of a sudden to end their season if their pitching holds up and their offense can get going again. Obviously, Pat Ballman's going to be a huge part of that. Bringing Pat Ballman back and having that. I've heard Blake Hoffman's going to be making an appearance soon as well. So kind of getting those pieces in place for the Purge to make a run at the end of their season is probably bound to happen. Winning. Thank you, Pat Ballman. So could go back-to-back winning streaks for the Purge in 2 years. And then the Thunderbirds round us out. They have 8 games left, and 4 of them are against bottom 3 standings teams. It's going to be close, but if they can at least split with the Mambas and the Mojo, I expect them to hit the over and heavily contest for the playoff bye and a division win. So if they can split with the Mambas and Mojo, I think that they will go the rest of the way and they will get those wins, and they are already showing that they're firing on all cylinders. Spencer Foss is pitching amazing this year. Brody Livingston jumping right in and showing why he's an MVP candidate early. And all the rest of their team. Andrew Nichols having a great outing last week. Dom Citrowski having a great hitting performance last week. So I really think that this team is going to be hot going into the playoffs. Hopefully the rest of the league can slow them down before they get there. That does it, folks. That is our over and under. If you want to rewatch, go through, see what the over-under is going to be. I'm just going to giving my opinions on if they're going to hit that over-under. 5.5 is we knew it was going to be a tough line all year long for this over-under predictions. But for this one, it works out because every team has at least 6 games left. So I thought it was the last chance for me to do this heading into the summer months that we are in. All right, everybody. I'm going to just stick around for any questions or, comments that might be in the chat for, about 1 more minute. Thank you for joining me for this next episode of 56 and Under. Joining me on my Wednesday lunch break. We will see you tomorrow for some big matchups between the Archers and the Mojo and the Kings and the Purge. You won't want to miss it. Make sure you're tuning in live on YouTube or Twitch, wherever it ends up working out. And then after that, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all of the games will be listed. And make sure you watch out for Fast Pitch if Jason Worstenholm comes out with a preview of the upcoming ones as well. Thank you for joining me for 56 and Under. My name is Sam Skibbe. We'll see you next week. See ya. If I can find the stop stream. There it is.